Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 83. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I'm joined as always by Chris Chapman, Fox Sports Las Vegas, the Golden Knights pregame show, postgame show, and just basically everything Vegas Golden Knights that you hear on the radio. That fella right there, he's responsible for it. This episode, like all others, is brought to you by the Las Vegas Advisor, www.lasvegasadvisor.com. Your place for everything Vegas, show tickets, entertainment, restaurant, gambling, anything you need. And Chapman's favorite, the Strip Club Advisor Tour, all available on the Las Vegas Advisor and by my good friend, Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net. You can give him a call at 702-838-1994. That's 702-838-1994. First consultation is free. Talk to John Pierce, my good friend, Dr. John Pierce, about getting yourself in the best possible way you can be. Chap, you got one more to share with us before we start?
Yeah, Eddie, I'm actually down here at Marathon Law Group recording this episode of Hockey Nights in Vegas, and you can give Joe or Boris a call at 702-522-1808. We're so excited to have them on board. We're going to be doing, I think, something we're going to announce today, right? Some pretty big fucking things with these guys.
We are. We're going to drop it in right before we switch from what they've done to what they're doing. We're going to drop in something real special. So that'll be a few minutes down the line.
Listen, my birth date is in their number. So if you want to know what my birthday is, it's 5/22. Their number 702-522-1808. So easy way to remember my birthday.
So if you want to get Chapman a birthday gift for next season, it's May 22nd, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on episode 83. I don't know what we'll name it. We usually name it at the very end, but let's talk about the team that nobody thinks was going anywhere, isn't a serious Stanley Cup contender, middle of the pack, maybe third in the division. Yes, your Las Vegas Golden Knights. Kind of overlooked and kind of forgotten going into this season. Opened up their season with an 8-4 molly-whomping of the Colorado Avalanche. Followed that up with a hotly contested 4-3 win over St. Louis. And then just a couple of nights ago, the third of the three-game homestand to open the season, the Golden Knights beat the Anaheim Ducks 3-1. 3-0-0, 6 points in the bank. Nobody saw it coming, right, Chap? This is just an average team. Give me some takeaways from the opening homestand.
Well, I don't know who would say they didn't see this coming, because this organization, especially since Mark Stone has been here, like, if you count them out, they're going to prove you wrong. And I think, look, it's 3 games. It's a very small sample size, but I think what we figured out through these 3 games is Golden Knights are a good team. They can beat you in any number of ways. I mean, they doubled up the Avalanche, who kind of stink right now. Patrick Waugh's Islanders went in there and they kicked the shit out of Colorado last night.
In Colorado, where they didn't lose a game last year.
Yeah. So, look, it's and then you look at the game against St. Louis. It was a little back and forth, but once again, they proved that they're superior to St. Louis. And then the Anaheim game, they played a little, not slow, but they played Anaheim's game, I think, for the first 2 periods. And then the third period, once again, they flexed their muscle. And depth scoring is really what led to that win. Obviously, I don't know if many people call Tomas Hertl a depth guy, but Pavel Dorofeyev gets a goal. They win that one 3-1. So they've won in a variety of ways. They start the backup in Ilya Samsonov on Sunday night. And look, I mean, if you count this team out, you're stupid. I think that's really the takeaway for me. Like, Kelly McCrimmon, they find guys really in the scrap heap. I mean, they picked up Cole Schwindt. The guy had maybe practiced with the team once before he's inserted.
No, not even. It was just a morning skate.
Yeah. So, and a video session.
Yeah.
Right. So they pick him up off the scrap heap. Someone else didn't want him. Why? I mean, I'm sure Calgary had their reasons, but you look at what he's done, and he's been pretty solid in 2 games. So this organization proves time and time and time and time again that not only will they beat you through the moves that they make in terms of trades or signings, but they'll beat you because they're just smarter than you. They find these guys, and we saw it with Ben Hutton, we saw it with Zach Whitecloud, we saw it in the expansion draft. Oh, you don't want we want you to take this guy, so we're going to give you this guy as an incentive to take him. They're just a step ahead of everybody. And yeah, it's resulted in one Stanley Cup, but you know what, Eddie? There's not a lot of teams that have won a Stanley Cup since the Golden Knights have been in the league. So
I think the big thing is 3-0-0 is not unusual. Golden Knights
no,
started 3-0-0
it's
the
the
last
norm.
3 years, right? These teams, these Golden Knights teams, as constructed, are coached real well. They come out of the box, I mean, rip roaring. I mean, the Colorado game was a bit sloppy, but they hung a touchdown and a 2-point conversion on them. But more important than that, yes, 8 goals is nice. 8-4 is beautiful. It's a lovely start to the season. But the thing that was really important about that game is the top line went off,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm. Yeah.
The top line, then this year's version of the top line, Barbishev, Stone, Eichel, went off. And just the fact that they started scoring early in the season is huge because all players grip their sticks pretty early. If the goal scorers don't get a goal in the first 2 or 3 games, even Tomas Hertl talked about it after he scored against Anaheim. He was like, "Yeah, I wanna help the team and I wanna contribute," and getting that first goal. Hockey players have a weird psyche. Goal scorers have an even weirder psyche. The fact that Stone, Eichel, and Barbashev went off, but is huge for them because they continued it in the second game. They Stone and Eichel got an assist on Hurdle's goal. They kept their point streak going. But in game 2, Dorofeyev, secondary scoring. Even Alexander Holt, even though the goal was turned out to be disallowed for a high stick, secondary scoring. Tomas Hertl, not secondary, just not first line.
Yeah.
We talked about in the last episode, depth scoring is going to be the key to this whole thing. Where are they going to get production from? Getting these guys off early is a huge, huge asset for the team going forward. It's just good for their headspace. They got some home cooking for a week. They won 3 games, and I think that they are in as good a place as they could possibly be, given the one fact that we still don't know anything really about William Karlsson. If this team keeps rolling this way, they're only going to be better when 71 comes in the lineup, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, we don't know because the word was that he did not travel with the team. However, he could potentially join them. So that tells me if we don't see him on this road trip, we'll probably see him when they get back. They got that LA game at 8 o'clock on the 22nd. I think it was a week from today. But
Yeah.
like that doesn't, to me, that doesn't matter. Like, I mean, it does in the grand scheme of things. But right now they're winning games without him. And as you mentioned, they're only going to get better when he comes back. But I think, and one of the things I want to ask you is because we've seen Barbashev, he's got the 3 goals in 3 games. He's playing with 2 guys who are pretty good distributing the puck. What is his ceiling now? I mean, because we've seen
There is no
he's
ceiling.
got
There's
he's
no
got a
ceiling.
really nice shot. He gets to the net. He's not afraid to lay out a big hit. But that backhand of his, we saw it the other night, and I think Bruce had mentioned we saw it one time last year in
Yep.
Winnipeg.
Yep.
And like, I look at him and I think he's a guy who maybe we weren't really talking about having the big season. And maybe because he was overshadowed a little bit by Eichel and Marchessault on that top line. But he's a guy who, since he got here, he's scored a lot of goals and he scored some really big goals. And I mean, you say there's no ceiling. Are we talking like 30 goals from Ivan Barbashev?
Just think about what Bruce has said to us all along. He likes to work his lines in pairs, right? Remember when we've had that
Yep.
we've had that conversation many, many, many times.
Yeah.
No, again, No, not shitting on Jonathan Marchessault. No disrespect whatsoever. He scored 42 goals in the NHL, and that's huge. But he got 42 goals having an top 10 NHL player as the distributor, Jack
Yeah.
Eichel. He got to Conn Smythe. Jack Eichel assisted on, I think, nearly half, if not more, of Marchessault's playoff goals.
Well, was Eichel I think he was the second leading points scorer in that Stanley Cup.
He
Led
led
the league.
that. He led the NHL in points. So my point is, points is that the ceiling, there is no ceiling for Barbishev. If he stays on the line with Eichel and Stone, there's no number that's going to be unachievable for him. It's the same conversation that we were having about, God damn it, 95, they got from Buffalo.
Oh,
Olofsson, right? Same thing. There's no ceiling on anybody who plays with two premier distributors in the NHL. We talked about the same concept with Dorofeyev, right? It's all a matter of who's going to get the finisher of the puck. Now, we know that Tomas Hertl is a distributor. Dorofeyev should have a good year, but he won't have a good year as the guy who plays the wing for 60 or 65 or 70 games with Eichel in the center and Stone on the other side.
Yeah.
I mean, Barbishev can score on his own. Barbishev can score in the dirty areas, right? He can earn his ice, right? That's a phrase that Bruce likes to use a lot. And I think the thing that I've noticed a lot in the first 3 games, there's a lot more dirty goals. They're playing playoff type hockey. They're putting a lot of pucks at the net. There's a lot of tips going on. A lot more players are practicing tips at the end of practice. They're in a mode that says, we're going to grind you into the mud. And the example was the Anaheim game. The first two periods were kind of meh, back and forth. But
Yeah.
Anaheim came in a back-to-back, a travel, and the third period, the Golden Knights just kind of put their I'm trying to get my thumb in the camera. Kind of put their thumb on them and just pushed down on them. Yeah, there you go. Thumb down. They kind of put their thumb on them and squashed them out. And that looks like it's going to be the formula. Sure, they'll take the 8-pack games. Of course they will. But they beat a very good St. Louis team convincingly, and they
Yeah.
outplayed them. And I think even though they're not like the sexiest stats and they're not the sexiest wins, I think Bruce Cassidy, when he goes back in the coach's office and he looks at that St. Louis game and he looks at that Anaheim game, he says, you know what? That's the formula that's going to get us far. And then when you add in Jack Eichel's tied for the lead in the NHL in scoring with 7 points after 3 games, I mean, rue the people who think that this team is not going to be a contender come April or May. You've been warned.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I mean, look, the biggest hurdle this team will, no pun intended,
Sorry, Tomas,
hurdle.
you're not the biggest hurt. You're the biggest physical hurdle.
Yeah, HURDLE, not HERTL.
Right.
Hurdle. The biggest hurdle this team is going to face is health.
Yep.
I mean, because if they are healthy, and that's always a big if, they're as good as any team in the league. And I think last season was last season. You know, there's a lot of emotions. We don't have to rehash last season, but this team is, I think, as hungry as they were the year they missed the playoffs and they turn around and they win the Stanley Cup. I think there's a similar type of hunger.
Yeah.
They've won the cup.
A chip.
They won the cup, and then they had a disappointing, in their view, a disappointing season. Right? Wild card, you lose in the first round of the playoffs. Now they're coming off of that disappointing season, and they're 3-0, as you mentioned, without William Karlsson. So the question with William Karlsson, let's assume he doesn't come back for another week. He doesn't travel to Florida. He doesn't play in any of those games. He comes back in time for the LA game. Where does he go?
3C.
You put him in. So you have him on a line with Olofsson and Holtz, the Swedish line.
Probably,
The
and that
Swedish
put
House Mafia? Is that
yeah.
what we're gonna go with, those
I
3 guys?
isn't that a
It's like an EDM band or a
I was
couple
gonna say,
DJs
isn't
or
that some kind of that kids thing, club shit,
yeah,
garbage?
club music. I've
Yeah,
never listened to them.
a concert with a fucking data stick. Anyway,
Yes.
sorry we got off on a little bit of an old man's rant there, but yeah, it probably has to be 3C, and
And
then
then where do you put Wah?
I think he probably goes back to 4C, and Swint becomes the 13th forward.
Okay, so what is so you're not making any changes with your second line then?
I I don't think so.
Okay.
Especially, well, I mean, we'll know more in the next couple games. If the second line pots a couple goals, then no. But I
Yeah.
mean, you're looking at Howden, Wah, Kolasar on the fourth line, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Brett Howden's looked really good. So,
Yes,
like,
he has. He's got a
I don't
lot of zip.
know, like, I don't know what you do with him. Like, right now, you've got Wah, Howden, Olofsson as your third line. I think you probably maybe move Holtz down and have him play with Carlson and Olofsson.
Yeah, on 3. I mean, he's already flipped Olafson and Holtz won.
Yeah, and I think
So,
you
he's
could feel
thinking
very
that.
comfortable moving Nick Waugh back down to the fourth line with Pearson and Kolasar, who both look. I mean, I thought there was a real moment, and someone I can't remember who it was that asked Bruce in the presser about it. I think it was Willie Ramirez who asked Bruce about the unselfishness of Tanner Pearson when they scored that empty net goal.
Yeah, yeah, it was Willie.
And, a really good question, I thought, because it kind of goes into the mind of how these guys are team first. Like Tanner Pearson, his first game as Golden Knight, he had the opportunity to score a goal. And instead of doing so, he gives it up and lets Brett Howden, who had 4 shots in that game, lets Brett Howden get the empty netter. So, like, I think there's something to it with those guys. Kolasar has been really good. I think Brett Howden's been really good. Like the play Kolasar made on was it the Dorofeev goal or the
Yes.
hurdle? Yeah.
That was a Dorofeev goal.
Like, and we had Kelly McCrimmon on the Insider Show yesterday, and I thought he made a really good point. And that was on Monday. I shouldn't say yesterday because you might listen to this on Wednesday or Thursday or whenever. But we had Kelly McCrimmon on the VGK Insider Show on Monday, and he talked about the growth of Kolasar and Brett Howden and how sometimes his word was the canopy comes off when you go through changes where you lose players, and it kind of allows other players to step up and into a role. And Bruce had mentioned the leadership of Keegan Kolasar in the locker room.
Yeah, he talked
Um,
about that after the Ducks game.
after the Ducks game. And like I think we've seen a maturation of Keegan Kolasar as a player. And it sounds like in the locker room, he's become a more vocal, right? That was one of the things as well. When you lose leadership, other guys need to step up and become leaders. It sounds like, by all accounts, Keegan Kolasar has become that guy who's stepping into that role. Like I've always liked the kid. I've always thought he was a really nice guy, and he's got a pretty good sense of humor. But it sounds like he's now kind of taken on that. I don't want to say Marchessault role, but the guy who keeps things loose
He
in the
he
locker room with some.
he got the sweeper job. He's doing Marchessault's puck front in the pregame.
Yeah,
Maybe he is the voice.
and it sounds like he's a shit talker,
Yep.
in the room, and he's
Yep.
the guy who really keeps things loose, and good for him because he's been here for a long time, and I think we weren't really sure what kind of player he was going to be, but he's really stepped up on the ice too. Like their fourth line is still really good. Like even without William Carrier, you look at their fourth line and you're like, wow, this is Cole Schwint steps in, and they don't miss a beat. Like that fourth line doesn't miss a beat, and
Speaking of Will Carrier, you
yes,
want do you want to drop the first big bomb of the 24-25 season, ladies and
yeah,
gentlemen?
sure, I could do that.
I hope you're
Yeah.
sitting down because Mr. Chapman is about to share with you something that no other podcast has the testicular fortitude or financial means to pull off. And with that incredible setup. Chap, tell them what we're giving them.
Yeah, well, courtesy of Joe and Boris at Marathon Law Group, we're actually going to be giving away a pair of tickets to the Golden Knights and Carolina Hurricanes game on November 11th. And Eddie, you and I have seen the seats. We know where they are. They're fucking phenomenal seats. Like they're
Just tell
better. What is it?
Listen,
Section 4?
Section 4, row K, kids. You're
Yeah.
basically
Aisle C.
sitting at the face-off dot where
Yep.
the Golden Knights defend. No more of those shitty rafter seats. No more of, oh my God, I think I'm going to fall into the lower bowl and lean down. And no disrespect to radio station giveaway tickets. Excuse me. But these are some prime ass tickets. Section
Yeah.
4, lower bowl, right?
Yeah.
We haven't decided exactly what you're going to have to do to get in the raffle to get these tickets, but you better find us on Instagram and you better hit subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah.
We've got another, almost a month. We're going to be plugging the shit out of free tickets, free Golden Knights tickets, lower bowl. First game, Carolina. Welcome back, Will Carrier. You get your video, fan favorite, November the 11th. And hell, you know what? Let's live a little. Chap, you can't be there because it's a weekday game and you have pregame show duties. But the winner of the drawing for the 11th, the November 11th game, I'm going to take the dinner before the game. What do you think of that?
I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I've gone to dinner with you a couple times before games, and generally those dinners are pretty good, whether it's pizza or chicken wings.
Yeah, so let's do that.
Listen,
First,
I mean that's pretty fucking cool. You're getting a free pair of tickets to the game and a free meal. So, I mean, you can't beat that. You definitely cannot beat that.
November 11th, Carolina.
And it's a good game. It's a good game too. It's not like the Kings or the Ducks. It's a good team.
It's a quality team. You'll get a very emotional Will Carrier video because he was an original misfit.
7 years.
And so November 11th, the first of 3 or 4 times this year, we're going to be giving away tickets. In the next episode, we'll have exactly what you need to do to win, but guarantee that you're going to have to like and subscribe to some stuff.
Yep.
You'll also be able to get some live snippets from us after the game. We might even try an Instagram live if we can figure out how the fuck to do that.
Yeah, so
we're going wide this year. But most of all, free tickets, ladies and gentlemen. The first of 3 or 4, November 11th, against the Carolina Hurricanes. One quick question: anybody surprise you in the first 3 games, or your biggest takeaway?
Well, my biggest takeaway is the blue line is still really good. Shea Theodore has had a tremendous start to the season. I think Pietrangelo has allowed Shea to play a little more loose, I think, which sometimes is not necessarily a great thing, but Shea has looked very comfortable in that role. I think the pair that's really stuck out to me, though, is McNabb and Whitecloud. And I know McNabb's taken a couple stick penalties early in the season, but Zach Whitecloud looks like the Zach Whitecloud of 2 years ago, a guy who you absolutely cannot take out of the lineup. And that sucks for Caden Korzak and Ben Hutton, who are 2 guys who I'm sure want to play. But Zach Whitecloud's just been so good early on. So he had the goal. Was it against Colorado? That deceptive, sneaky shot of his.
Yep.
And I could not be more impressed with the start to the season for him. He's been really good, Eddie. And I think they were counting on that. We heard it all in the preseason. This was a guy who got hurt early in preseason last year, never really had that. Remember, short summer, gets injured very early, was out a while, never really had the opportunity to get into game shape, comes back, plays a little bit, gets dinged up again. It was just a shit season for him. But he's back to being the player that I think we all expect him to be. And he, above all, expects himself to be. And I couldn't be happier for him because he's a great kid. The line I hear from my friend Darren Millard all the time is he's the kind of guy who, if your daughter brings him home, you're happy because she picked a good guy. And so, Zach Whitecloud is a guy who I think is impressed early on. I think from the forward position, I mean, we kind of talked about it last week with Jack Eichel, how he was going to be motivated coming into the season. I don't know how I could look at Jack Eichel and the start to the season he's had and be like, man, the guy elevates his game. And it seems like he gets better and better every season. And this start, I mean, as you mentioned, he's leading the league in points. He's got assists in every game. He looks like a quarterback on the power play.
And he's playing the tough minutes, and he's playing some on the PK.
Yeah. I mean, he's everything you want in a leader. He's everything you want when you are the team or a team that has that marquee star player, and Jack will be part of the Team USA in the Four Nations face-off or whatever they're calling it. He's an elite player, and people pay money to see the elite players. And Jack Eichel performs. This isn't the fucking NBA where you never know, right? I could pay money to go see the Lakers and maybe they don't play LeBron James, or I could pay money to go see the 76ers and they're not playing Joel Embiid because of load management, whatever the fuck that bullshit is. This is the NHL. There's no load management.
I have a fantastic load management joke, but it's so filthy. I don't think I should tell it.
Yeah, let's not go there. But like the point I'm making is you pay money to see Jack Eichel. He's a guy who you shell out your money to see. And 9 times out of 10, he's performing.
He's a bona fide superstar.
He's a star. And I think we talked about how many points he was going to have last week. We both agreed he was going to be up near 90. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to go above that, but if he keeps playing like he is, he's going to be really close to 100.
So that'll pretty much wrap up what they've done so far. But before we break down the upcoming road trip, let's get a word in from my good friend, Dr. John Pierce at Ageless Forever. I'm here with my good friend, Dr. Pierce. We're going to talk about cool sculpting. Back in the old days, it was liposuction. But then if you see the after pictures, they're entirely bruised up. People look like just death, and the recovery is brutal. Nowadays, there's this thing called cool sculpting.
Cool sculpting is really cool. It's non-invasive. Medical term is cryolipolysis. Basically what happens is fat cells freeze at a higher temperature than the skin cells or other cells in the body. We can freeze the fat cells and not damage any other tissue around that. Those cells will die. They go what's called apoptosis, or programmed cell death. They basically disintegrate. The body sends in white blood cells that gobbles up the remnants and it deposits them in the colon, and down the drain it goes. Depending on the amount or the area that you're looking to do, it may require 2 or 3, maybe even 4 treatments. It's really, really inexpensive, very, very effective. So if you've got problem areas that diet and exercise aren't taken care of, you got that little pooch or you got some love handles that you want to address, cool sculpting is the way to go. Not a weight loss thing. So, you got problem areas that are bothersome to you, we can target those and get rid of the fat in that area.
This is non-invasive. You come in, you lay in a comfortable chair, the gals take care of you. If you need a little touch-up, you don't have to be vain, so I'm considering it. If you want to consider it, send a message to the gals, www.agelessforever.net. Make an appointment. The first consultation is free. They'll walk you through the entire process. www.agelessforever.net. Send a message, take advantage of the free consultation. Wouldn't be bad to look better naked, would it? So, Chap, they're 3-0 at home. They're getting their first taste of road life. They open up a 3-game road trip later tonight, against the Washington Capitals, with a very familiar face who's liable to have a very large chip on his shoulder in goal. He's already confirmed in goal. Yeah. One Logan Thompson.
And Aiden Hill was first goalie off the ice, according to Stephen Wino. So it will be Hill and LT in that for Vegas, and then for Washington, obviously.
So is it too early, knowing Logan the way we know him, just a little bit? Is this a revenge game? Is this a fuck you Golden Knights game? Do we expect a 40 save, shutout and him flipping off Kelly McCrimmon in the GM's booth as he skates off the ice? Or what exactly? And we'll do this game by game. So tonight's the Capitals. They've only played one game. Nobody
Ovechkin is
really
on the
knows.
other side of
Ovechkin's moved to right wing, which is actually his natural position.
yeah.
But I don't give a fuck about Ovechkin. I want to talk about Logan Thompson. Tell me what you think Logan Thompson's thinking 3 hours before puck drop against the team that sort of shipped them.
Well, for starters, I think they did him a favor because they sent him to a place he's going to have an opportunity to be the number one. I don't think he'll beat out
Behind
Lindgren.
Chart, you think
I don't think
he's
he's.
got a
I don't
shot
think
to-
he's. No, I don't think he's going to be the number one. But I think in his mind, he feels like he has the ability to beat out Lindgren. I don't think he's going to be their number one. But Eddie, I think this game. I think if I'm Logan Thompson, who we know to be an emotional guy, I think that's his downfall. I think that's his Achilles heel. I think he's over emotional at times.
You think he's going to come in so jacked tonight that he's going to blow it?
I think so. And listen, as much as he wants to beat the Golden Knights, you don't think there's guys on the Golden Knights who want to put 2 or 3 past him and beat him? It goes both ways. And I think, with Logan, he's a fiery guy. Look, I think he's the type of goalie that you like if you're a fan because he's got that fire. Whereas Aiden is a lot more laid back. He's pretty chill. He drink his coffee. He's drinking his hot toddy as the play's going up the ice. Whereas Logan's yelling shit down the ice as the play's going the other direction. And I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a fun game. But I don't think for 1 minute that there's not guys on Vegas who are saying to themselves, you know what? I want to stick it to this guy. He wants to stick it to us, but I want to stick it to him.
I mean, I don't know if it really means as much in the course of the NHL, but in Golden Knights world, the 4th game of the regular season's it's got a little zip to it, I think. I'm expecting a really high intensity game. I mean, listen, we can't skirt around the fact that Logan Thompson had some controversial times while he was here, right? He was difficult with us, right? He very rarely came out and talked to us, which was the opposite of Marc-Andre Fleury, right? And like you said, he is a guy who, I want to say this just exactly correctly. He's a guy whose emotions can get the better of him and overwhelm him.
Yeah.
And I agree, Chris. This is, if it's going to happen, this would be the game. It could be one of two ways, in my opinion. He could come out and be the greatest goalie since, I don't know, pick any good goalie you want.
Hey, give me Patrick Watson.
Right. Or this could be the most epic King Kong shit show where if he lets in an early goal and it's not a particular, right? A bad bounce goal or something like that, he may implode. He's got it in him to just lose his shit.
Yeah.
And
that's the risk you take if you're Washington.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I almost think that if I was Washington, I might not even play him. I might play him when he gets back to the fortress. Let the home crowd, you know what I mean? I might, if I was a coach, I would think, even though it's already a moot point because he's confirmed, but this is either going to be a real tough night for the Golden Knights, or the Golden Knights are going to go in the locker room and the guys upstairs who pulled the trigger on the trade are going to have a couple of pops and a chuckle because they flushed something that didn't belong. So
yeah,
do you want how about an over under prediction? The Golden Knights will score over or under 3.5 goals tonight.
I'm going over.
Over.
Yeah. I think they light them up.
I think I agree with you.
I think they win like 5-2.
I don't think he can control himself. and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way,
No,
but I
no.
think that the second that they traded him at the draft, the schedule wasn't out then. The second the schedule came out after he was traded,
He
that
circled
game
this one.
that's got a King Kong cherry strawberry flakes red donut ring around it, and he says, "I'm fucking those guys."
Yeah.
So that's the first game of the road trip, and then they get a little work on their tan. They head down to Florida. They have a date with the Lightning, the reconstituted version of the Lightning, minus Steven Stamkos plus Jake Gensel.
Yeah.
Still have Victor Hedman. Still have what's his face in goal.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
I mean, Vasilevsky's still pretty damn good.
Yeah, I get my Russians mixed up because they're both in Florida. So yeah,
Bobrovsky and then Vasilevsky.
they
Yeah.
got a Vasilevsky, they've got Hedman, they've got Point. There's a lot there, but I feel like they're not quite there yet. I mean, they just had their heart cut out. Everyone in the world thought Stammer was retiring. Steve Stamkos, sorry. Steven Stamkos, the captain in 18 years in Tampa. Everybody thought that they have to resign him. This is just posturing, but they didn't. So this team doesn't have nearly the identity. They gave the C to Hedman as they should have, right?
Yeah.
But is this team really the Tampa Bay Lightning that we know?
Well, I think the bigger loss for them, because I mean, certainly Stamkos is a big loss, but I think the guy that they're going to regret years from now isn't necessarily Stamkos, right? He's at the end of his career, and he's moved on to Nashville, got the big payday. But the guy who I think they're going to really regret not keeping is Mikhail Sergachev, and that's the guy to me. When I watched the Lightning, and listen, he had that horrific broken leg, I think it was last year,
Yep.
and it deflated them. He is the guy who really got things going for them. Not the best player on the team, but I think kind of maybe the emotional leader of that team. And I love Victor Hedman. Like I'm amazed that the guy's got one Norris Trophy. To me, it's fucking bullshit that one or two that he didn't win it like every fucking year. Like to me, it's ridiculous when I think about how Victor Hedman only has the one Norris Trophy. He's got a Conn Smythe, but only one Norris Trophy. But he's kind of a quiet leader. Like you talk to him, you see him on the ice. He's not yelling and screaming and grabbing guys by the chest and saying, "Let's fucking go." Right? Like that's not him. Mikhail Sergachev kind of is that guy. And I think that's the bigger loss in the long run. Immediately, yeah, it's probably Stamkos. But how many more years of Stamkos were you going to get at an elite level if you're the Tampa Bay Lightning? So I think they take a step back. I really do. I think.
Are they a playoff team?
Yeah, maybe, because I think their division gets 5 teams, but I think they're a wild card. Like I think they're probably a playoff team, because I think Detroit's going to get in as well. But I mean, this is a division with Toronto, Florida, Boston themselves, Detroit. I feel like they're all playoff teams. And I look at the Metropolitan, the Devils, Rangers. After that,
Carolina.
After those
that's the 3.
Yeah. Do you feel confident that the Flyers or Pittsburgh or the Islanders? No, I don't.
Yeah.
So
I think you're right. 5 and 3 is probably exactly right.
So I think they're a wild card team. And I think they're probably an early out in the playoffs again. So
is this the beginning? Is this the beginning of the end of the John Cooper era in Tampa? Longest reigning head coach?
I think it's the end of them being a Stanley Cup contender. I mean, I don't know how long they'll keep him around, or how long he'll stay around if they're not competing for Stanley Cups. I mean, that's kind of become the norm, right?
Yeah.
And when you have those really high expectations, you go back to back. You had the President's Trophy one year. The expectation is you are an elite franchise. But I don't think Jake Gensel makes up for what they've lost.
And
Good player. I think he's a good player. He's an all-star caliber player. But I don't think
he plays good with good people.
But I
right?
don't think he matches Stamkos production-wise,
No.
and I don't think he matches Sergachev emotion-wise.
I think that's probably spot on. Third
So
game.
I think I think for the Golden Knights, I think that's a winnable game.
Third game of the trip, a rematch of 2 years ago, Stanley Cup final, as the Golden Knights make their way down to Pantherland.
Sunrise.
In Sunrise, Florida, that beautiful arena that's conveniently adjacent to a swamp. If you come out of the game and you turn left, you can get eaten by an alligator, or you can go into the parking lot. The Panthers are still the Panthers. They don't seem like they're exactly there. They had the short summer. They've got a little bit of injury bug and a little bit of illness bug going. They are the team that dumps the puck in and chases it the most in the NHL. There's your awkward, absurd, unusual stat for the day. That's the team that wants to punish you. They want to dump it in, put it behind you, chase you down, and hit you. That personality of that club isn't going to change. They're led by I was going to say Keith Tkachuk because I'm that old. Matthew Tkachuk, right?
Yep.
And
you and I have seen all three of them.
Right. And Sasha Barkov is arguably the best two-way player in the NHL.
I don't think there's a debate.
Yeah, they're still stacked, and they have Bob, and they're repeating as a Stanley Cup champion, nearly impossible, as evidenced by the infrequency of it over the 100+ years in the league, and especially the last 30 or 40 years. But they're a horse, right? They are a team not to be trifled with. My thought is maybe it's a little bit early in the season, and they don't have. I think the hangover is real. I don't think they fully really engaged yet, and that might give the Golden Knights a better chance to win a game. Whereas if this game was a couple months in after Thanksgiving or something like that, where they were fully back engaged in the season, I think it would be a tougher road game for the Golden Knights. So, three on the road.
Here's the thing about that game. Sasha Barkov isn't playing.
Right.
He's out. I don't know the status of Matthew Tkachuk, but
he's sick, I think.
Yeah, it's weird because they have him listed as illness.
Right.
So what illness do you know ahead of time is going to keep a guy out a week?
Mono.
That's a possibility. Yeah.
It's been through the league a couple of different times
because the rules and the regulations as far as COVID are a lot different than they were 2-3 years ago. So I don't think it's. I'm not going to pretend to be a fucking doctor, but like with COVID, I just know based on the way the rules and everything have changed. My guess is it's not that. So yeah, we don't know if he's going to play. He missed the Buffalo game on Saturday. He didn't play yesterday against Boston. So I don't know if he's going to be available for that game on Saturday, but you're down potentially. And if he does play, is he going to be 100%? So this is an opportune time for the Golden Knights to make this road trip because I think you've got an opportunity to play Tampa. I think if they're going to lose one of these games, I think it's going to be to Tampa because I think they're going to beat Florida. And I don't know the statistics on this, nor do I give a shit to really look because this isn't a Florida Panthers podcast. But I wonder what the statistics are on a team that loses in the Cup final comes back and wins the cup the following year, what that third year is like for that team, because this Florida Panthers team has played a ton of hockey the last 2 seasons. And
Well, the reference, you have to use the reference. Pittsburgh lost to Detroit, beat Detroit. That's 08, 09, I think. All you have to do is see what their 10 season. I know they didn't make it back.
yeah, because I'm thinking, like, you being a Red Wings fan, they lost to the Devils in 95. They came back and won in 96. I don't remember who they beat. What did they do in 97? Did they win the cup in 97?
I don't think they went back to back. They beat Philly and they beat Washington and they beat Pittsburgh. Those are the three recent ones.
So 96 was that the Avalanche? 96?
96 could have been the brawl year.
Yeah, I think it was the Avs in 96. Now that I think about it. Now I got to go back and fucking look and see. But
no, that it's an interesting question because, like you said, that's 2 long stretches of hockey with the shortest break. One, the heartbreak summer when you lose it, but then you have the beer-filled cup summer, which they just concluded. I just think they're vulnerable right now. I don't think they're going to be vulnerable later in the season when they get their legs under them. And
by the way, it was the Avalanche in 96. So the Red Wings didn't lose in 95 and come back. It was the Avalanche in 96. So they wouldn't qualify in that scenario. So yeah, I'm curious to see, because generally teams don't lose and then come back and win anyway.
Right.
So I'm curious to see what happens in that third season for a lot of teams. But
so would you like to make a prediction?
Yeah, I think
when the Golden Knights come back to T-Mobile on the night of the 22nd, when we get ass fucked and are the last game of the full NHL schedule with an 8:00 start at T-Mobile, when the puck drops on the 22nd against the Kings, right? I think it's the Kings.
Yep.
The Golden Knights record will be
5-1. They have 10 points.
All in all, I think 5-1 is probably really. I think that's a rock solid guess. Actually,
I think they win tonight. I think they lose to the Lightning on Thursday, and then I think they beat the Panthers on Saturday.
I would not be surprised if they go 6-0.
You know,
I would be disappointed if they lose 2 out of 3 on this trip.
Well, what if they split 1-1-1? I think that's a possibility too. Like they could in theory lose to the Lightning in overtime, but I think they'll lose that one in regulation.
I think that anytime you can go 500 on a road trip, whether it's 2 games, 3 games, or 8 games, if they get 3 out of 6 points and they have 9 points out of a possible 12, if your points percentage is .750 going into your 7th game, there's certainly no reason to panic. That's for sure. Yeah. I think they'd be right as rain, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, I agree.
You could be the Edmonton Oilers, you could be the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, right? and Edmonton, you know what? They're not exactly off. Now they did the same thing last year too, but not exactly off.
This year's different.
Yeah,
might. I wouldn't call it a hangover, but they might be struggling with the ghost of losing and of going down 3-0, coming back to 3-all, being a period and a half basically away. This might be whatever the opposite of a this is worse than a hangover. They might be fighting themselves. Now, personally, I couldn't give a fuck. I hope I hope they fight themselves for 82 games, and but we'll talk about me not drinking that Kool-Aid at all on another episode. So let's get back to the important highlight of this episode. The Hockey Nights in Vegas podcast is giving away 2 free tickets to the Golden Knights versus the Carolina Hurricanes on November 11th. Rock solid lower bowl seats that you're going to wish you had every single game.
Yeah.
And if you are so inclined, you get to have dinner with me. The rest of the giveaways we'll try to get on the weekend so Chap and I can take the 2 winners to dinner. The other big news that we should plug, as we were told we have to plug it, is HockeyNightsVegas.com. That is your source for everything on this podcast. We are up on Spotify. We are up on Apple. We are up on Rumble. We are on Instagram. We're every fucking where. This podcast, we're in places that I didn't know existed before our good friend Tom, the producer, told me you should be up on that. But if you go to HockeyNightsVegas.com, that's the link to every place you can find us. So wherever you listen to your podcasts, go there, find us. For the YouTube channel we're working on right now, you're going to want to subscribe. You're going to want to subscribe to that Instagram page because that's the only way that you're going to get an opportunity to win the 2 free tickets to the Carolina game November 11th. Like, subscribe, comment. We like when comments pop up on the YouTube. We answer all of them. If you think we're full of shit, by all means, tell us we're full of shit. If you think we're spot on, tell us we're spot on. If you've got a hot take that we haven't covered, let us know, because if it's a hot enough take, we'll probably talk about it on the next episode. This episode, 83, like all others, is brought to you by the Las Vegas Advisor, www.lasvegasadvisor.com, your home for every single thing Las Vegas. Anything you need to know, that's the source. By my good friend, Dr. John Pierce at Ageless Forever, 702-838-1994. Give him a call. Tell him you're a fan of the Hockey Nights Vegas podcast. Your first consultation is absolutely free. Give Dr. Pierce the opportunity to make you the best you. And Chap, finish the plugs.
Yeah. Well, also brought to you by Marathon Law Group. Joe Riccio is my lawyer. He's been my lawyer for a long time. We're talking over a decade. He's been my guy. Make him yours. He handles everything. Him and Boris do immigration, divorce, child custody. There's no bullshit. And that's what I love about him. There's no bullshit. He'll tell you exactly how it is. DUIs, all sorts of stuff. You get into trouble with the law, he'll come help you out. So
what's the phone number?
702-522-1808. That's Marathon Law Group, Joe Riccio and his guy Boris. They will take great care of you. And they're the ones who are making the ticket giveaway possible.
And don't forget, 5/22, that's Chapman's birthday.
Yes. I'll be 46.
So get your presents ready for the Stanley Cup run next year. That's going to wrap up episode 83. We're going to record the next episode in about a week. We're going to get content up for you every single week. And we're also going to put some fun stuff on the Instagram page live from T-Mobile and some post-game recaps. Lots more content. Thanks all for listening. Smash that subscribe button on the bottom, and we'll see you next week. We're out of here.